for attending this morning. I'm so pleased to welcome you to the Avenue of Heroes Hometown Banner program. My name is Tina Friend. I'm very honored to be your city manager, and I'm thrilled to be with you for this inspirational ceremony. Today, we are going to honor the 16th group of hometown heroes that we will display on our Avenue of Heroes along Surgeon Court. And celebrating these heroes allows our city and the community to honor the many men and women who have lived in Coronado before, during, and after their military careers. Throughout the program, you will learn about their military accomplishments and just incredible components of their life. And I have to say, Coronado, we put on a number of amazing programs and events, and this one is an absolutely cherished favorite. Coronado, we're very proud to be host of Naval Base Coronado, and we have that resonance to military life here. And personally, I love it, as I'm a very proud daughter of a U.S. Army retired Sergeant Major, and a granddaughter to a Marine who served in World War II and was one of the first Amtrak battalions to beach on Iwo Jima. So that whole ethos I grew up with of service before self, hard work, all of that translates through all these stories, and it's just absolutely wonderful. So we have a great program ahead of you. It's something that we do and we very much cherish. But before we move into it, I want to acknowledge and welcome our Coronado City Council members and some special guests. So when I introduce you, would you please stand so we can acknowledge you? First, we have Councilmember Mike Donovan, right here up front. We have Councilmember Carrie Downey up front. We have Councilmember John Duncan. And we're very pleased to be joined by Naval Base Commanding Officer Captain McKissick, right here. And we also have President of the Coronado Historical Association Board of Directors and former Naval Base Coronado CO as well, Mr. Dave Landon. Okay, Captain Dave Landon. We have Caroline Murray from the Coronado Historical Association as well. And we have Judge Pate representing the Coronado Detachment of the Marine Corps League. Judge Pate. From the VFW Post 2422, we have John Nolan, Senior Vice Commander. From the Silver Strand chapter of the Military Officers Association of America, we have President Bob Breglio. Okay, and from the Coronado Council of the Navy League, we have President Joyce Murphy. And I also want to recognize our former city council members here at Coronado, Marvin Hines. And Mike Wiley. Oh, I don't see him. Okay, well, Mike. Okay, so now with those introductions, you can see that we really draw a broad assortment of support of this program, and we're very excited to get started. So for those who are able, please rise for the parading of the colors and the singing of the national anthem.
Color guard, hold. Left, face. Carry. Colors. Ready. Cut. Present. Colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched was so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof much to the Coronado High School Navy Junior ROTC and Deanna Holla for her powerful rendition. I'm always so moved when she sings for us, and we're very grateful she came back again this year. And I also want to thank the ushers. As you walked in and you were handed a program, please note that our ushers came from Coronado High School. Thank you, Megan Alexander. Thank you, Azaya Levia, hopefully I got that right, and Ellie Cahill. Thank you so much. And a note about our programs, these are a hot item, and so I think we're running low or may have run out. However, if you would like a program, please find one of us or drop us a note at City Hall. We'll make sure that we get one to you so you can have this commemorative copy. It's a wonderful, wonderful program. Okay, so now moving more into our program. So today, if you didn't know, today is actually Armed Forces Day, and it falls on the third Saturday of May each year, and it's so fitting that it falls on our Avenue of Heroes recognition. This day is set aside to pay tribute and recognize United States military service members at home and across the seas. So I just want to recognize that, the wonderful dovetailing of this national celebration with our own local celebration of our military heroes. Now, talking a bit more about the program itself, for those who've not been in a program before, this program began in 2014, and so far the Avenue of Heroes program has honored 230 service members. Today we will recognize an additional 15 in our 16th ceremony. So this is a cherished semi-annual event we have, and we love it when people come back to future events so we can just celebrate everyone under this umbrella of appreciation. So I want to note that today's ceremony would not have been possible without the Avenue of Heroes Committee. They're really making it happen. These dedicated group of volunteers comprise 2 members from the 3rd and 4th Street Neighborhood Association, the Coronado Veterans of Foreign Affairs Post 2422, and the Coronado Historical Association. The Avenue of Heroes Committee members have been instrumental in the success of this program. They work year-round, working with sponsors and honorees and the city staff to make this a success. It's truly a year-round effort, and they put in dozens and dozens of hours. Their efforts, they encourage local military families and their members to submit nominations, and they're really helping the program thrive. And they also travel far distances to be here today, some of them. So at this time, I want to recognize and honor the Avenue of Heroes Committee volunteers. Can we please honor Kevin Corcoran? Jamison. We have Darlene Parker. Miss Wood. And Tyler Daniel Stewart. Again, these committee members have been its biggest champion advocates in the backbone of the program, and we are so grateful for your service on this. Now for a bit more history about how this program began. In 2011, the Avenue of Heroes program was inspired spontaneously with the movement of 2 Navy SEALs to their final resting place. News spread quickly throughout the city, and the local Rotary Club passed out American flags. People lined 4th Street to honor the fallen service members. As the procession approached the Coronado Bridge, a lone Navy SEAL stood at attention, saluting as he waited for the passage of his comrades. At that moment, it was clear that 3rd and 4th Streets were already an Avenue of Heroes. And from that impromptu beginning, we have launched this celebration. And in 2014, Coronado resident Tony McGowan, and I was hearing another story about her just this morning from Darlene, tirelessly promoted a program to regularly recognize military members in our community. And that same year, the city designated 3rd and 4th Streets from Orange Avenue to Naval Air Station North Island as a Coronado Avenue of Heroes. Thank you, council members. And McGowan's vision was brought to fruition by the adoption of the Companion Banner program. So we are truly indebted to Tony and to all the other community members that work to get this program going. It's a tradition we are so grateful to be able to continue, and their legacy lives on. And now another component that's necessary to make this program happen is I want to recognize the sponsors and biography writers and family members who nominated their honorees. So these are people who came forward and said, I have a name, I have a story. They work with the city to create the biographies, they provide the photographs and the visual record, which so enriches the presentation today. It's dozens and dozens of hours of work. And As you will be enjoying here in a few minutes, the program would not be the same without them. So thank you so much to our sponsors in the room for helping draw life into the words and stories of our honorees today. It would not be the same without you. Thank you very much. I know I'll ask you to stand. We're just recognizing you. Now, let's move on to the main portion of our program. This is the really good stuff. And to do so, I'd like to welcome our two presenters who will read each of the honorees' biographies. First is retired Navy Captain and SEAL Daniel Stewart, who is representing the Coronado Historical Association. And with Daniel is Jim Jamison, a retired Marine Colonel, Navy aviator, who also represents the Coronado Historical Association. Begin the formal presentation in a moment, but I just want to say, honorees, as you're called up in turn, I also want to recognize you'll come down the aisle and our city council members will greet you and congratulate you on your way for the photograph. So let the show begin. Here we go.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me up in the back? Yeah. Great. So I'd like to just dovetail a little with what Tina just said. This is Armed Forces Day, and we're recognizing our former members of the Armed Forces. And if you have not had a chance, if you look down Orange Avenue today, drive along it, it's the main drive to Coronado. If you're not familiar with that, you'll see 180 flags. And those are put out in commemoration of Armed Forces Day, and the Rotarians put those out about 8 times a year to commemorate Memorial Day, Armed Forces Day, et cetera, et cetera. So it's quite a show. If you haven't seen it, take advantage of it, please. So, good morning again, and I myself and Colonel Jim Jamison here will be reading the biographies. We're doing it in alphabetical order. After we finish each biography, we'll invite the honoree, if he's present, he or she is present, and family to come forward. And come forward means down here to the reception area, which is the small table. And you'll line up here. We have a photographer here, take a couple quick photos, and then you'll return to your seats. Also, out in the lobby, we have if you haven't seen it, call it a step and repeat. I'm not sure why it is. Think of Hollywood and the red carpet, and where everybody stops to do their pose like this. We have one of those out front, so please avail yourself of that. We'll take as many family photos as you'd like. All right. And then, if we have, and we actually have, as you'll see during the presentation, we have 2 family members, 2 brothers, and we have a father and a son recognition ceremony today. We'll ask that each come up separately for those, and sorry for those who have to come up twice, but that's the way it is. So let's start today. The first honoree is Captain James Jim Calloway. Captain James Calloway was born in Huntington, West Virginia on June 2nd, 1942. Calloway attended the University of Michigan, graduated in 1964, and went on to receive his master's degree from Ohio State University in 1968. After graduation, he joined the Navy to see the world. His first tour was aboard the flagship of the Middle East Force, where he deployed through Egypt, Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, India, and Africa. After serving in one of the world's hottest areas, he received orders to Operation Deep Freeze, sailing between New Zealand and the South Pole. He subsequently served on numerous destroyers as damage control assistant, chief engineer, and executive officer. In 1968, he deployed to Vietnam with the last division of river patrol boats, and in 1969 became the first naval riverine advisor during President Nixon's turnover to the Vietnamese. He later commanded both Coastal River Division 11 in Mare Island, California, and Special Boat Unit 22 in New Orleans, Louisiana. While serving as commanding officer of the Naval Marine Corps Readiness Center in Norfolk, Virginia, he was knighted into the Sovereign Military Order of the Temple of Jerusalem Knights Templar and became the Priory of the Monitor and the Merrimack. Following retirement from active duty in 1995, Captain Calloway commenced a 17-year career in Navy bachelor housing. He retired in 2012 with a combined active duty and civilian career of 48 and a half years. Captain Calloway's personal decorations are vast and far-reaching, including but not limited to the Legion of Merit, Bronze Star with Combat V, Meritorious Service Medal with 2 gold stars, Navy Commendation Medal with Gold Star, Combat Action Ribbon, Navy Unit Commendation with 2 Bronze Stars, Meritorious Unit Commendation, Battle Efficiency E, and National Defense Medal with Bronze Star. Captain Calloway and his wife Beverly reside in Coronado and volunteer with numerous charitable organizations. They have 2 children and 2 grandchildren who live in California. Captain Calloway and Beverly can be seen around Coronado daily, either biking or running. And the captain competes in road races at the local, regional, and national level, almost always winning in his age group. Captain Calloway, thank you for your service. The next biography is for Captain Charles "Charlie" Cole. Born in 1929 and raised in Springfield, Oregon, Captain Charlie Cole graduated in 1950 from Oregon State University. Commissioned an ensign from Naval ROTC, he immediately reported aboard the destroyer USS Brush. Thus began a 30-year naval career spanning 2 wars. During the Korean War, the Brush was struck by a mine. Ensign Cole was instrumental in saving the lives of many of the shipmates as well as the ship itself. For his heroism, he was awarded the Silver Star, the 3rd highest award for valor. He was subsequently awarded 2 Bronze Stars with Combat V in Vietnam while serving as a commanding officer of the USS Hollister. Captain Cole's other shipboard assignments include USS Benoit Strait, USS Finch, USS Carpenter, and Chief Engineer of the aircraft carrier USS Hancock. Shore duty assignments included instructor, curriculum head, and admissions board officer at the United States Naval Academy, Chief of Staff of Destroyer Flotilla 5, Chief Mutual Defense Assistance Office in Japan, and Commanding Officer of the Naval Inactive Ships Facility in Bremerton, Washington. Retiring in 1979, Captain Cole embarked on an equally distinguished civilian career. He first served as Executive Director of the Business Regulation Studies Center at the University of Oregon. He subsequently became an adjunct professor and Director of Computing Activities before rising to the university's Director of the International Business Program Graduate School of Management. As Director, he originated, implemented, and conducted graduate-level international business courses and assisted local small businesses expand into exporting markets. Captain Cole's community service spanned decades as a county, state, and national appointee, Rotary District Governor, and Rotary International Senior Advisor, Senior Officer in the Military Officers Association of America, MOAB, and founding member of the Mothers Against Gun Thrive MAG, an individual of incredibly diverse and distinguished service, both in and out of uniform. Captain Cole has tirelessly given of himself and is most deserving of the many accolades he's received throughout his impressive careers, plural. Married for 66 years to Colleen, Captain Cole is an unabashedly proud husband, father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. To all who know him, Charlie is a man much accomplished, much respected, and much loved. Thank you for your service. This next biography is for Captain Charles E. Chuck Cusin. A native of Flint, Michigan, Captain Cusin was born on August 15, 1930. Graduating from the University of Michigan on a Navy ROTC scholarship, he was commissioned an ensign, U.S. Navy Supply Corps in 1952. He earned a Master of Business Administration from Harvard University in 1962 and graduated from the Naval War College in 1966. Following Supply Corps School in Oakland, California in 1952, Captain Cusin reported to the USS Paul and served as a dispersing officer during the Korean War. Subsequent assignments included supply officer duties in the USS Theodore E. Chandler, Special Weapons Unit Pacific San Diego, ComSurfback Pearl Harbor, Bureau of Supplies and Accounts Washington, D.C., U.S. Naval Shipyard Mare Island, and the U.S. Naval Supply Center, San Diego. In 1970, while serving in USS Mars, a forward-deployed combat storage ship supporting naval forces in Vietnam, he was awarded the Bronze Star with Combat B for his meritorious efforts in combat replenishment operations. Ending a tour at Defense Industrial Supply Center in Philadelphia in 1973, he received short notice orders to the Defense Attaché Office, USMD Saigon, as Chief Naval Supplies Section, supporting the last American forces departing South Vietnam. Captain Cusin assumed command of the U.S. Navy Supply Center Depot in Guam in 1975 and served concurrently as a Force Supply Officer on the Commander, Naval Forces Marianas Islands staff. He was awarded the Joint Services Commendation Medal for his participation in Operation New Life, processing over 100,000 refugees from Vietnam. Captain Cusin finished his career as Director of the Office of Planning and Management Defense Fuel Supply Center in Alexandria, Virginia, retiring in 1979. He was awarded the Defense Superior Service Medal in recognition of his distinguished 27 years of naval, joint military, and defense agency service. Captain Cusin enjoyed a second career at the University of Arizona in Tucson, teaching real estate finance. He is married to the former Peggy Ann Long of Grundy Center, Iowa. They have a daughter, Sarah, and 3 sons, Matt, Mark, and John. Peggy and Chuck enjoy an active retired life, splitting their time between their home in Coronado and the family farm in Iowa. Thank you for your service. The next honoree is Captain Edwin J. Doc Friesen. Edwin Doc Friesen, Captain, United States Navy retired, was born in Lake Charles, Louisiana in 1929. He grew up on a farm, joined the Navy in 1946, was married for 62 years to his wife Lucky, and raised 2 children. Doc served 28 years in the United States Navy, retiring as a captain. After joining the Navy, Doc attended McNeese State University. He began naval flight training in 1948, and after completing advanced training, Doc was awarded his coveted Navy Wings of Gold. During the Korean War, Doc went on 25 combat missions and was awarded the Meritorious Service Medal, Joint Service Medal, and Navy Commendation Medals, and 6 campaign medals. He began his first shore duty at the Naval Air Station Pensacola as Lieutenant Junior Grade Flight Instructor. This was the most fortuitous tour of his career because he met his future bride, Lawina Lucky Flynn, and married her in 1953. Captain Friesen subsequently attended the U.S. Naval Aviation Officers Electronics School at Naval Air Station Memphis, served as a communications officer at both Naval Air Station Port Liate in Morocco and NAS Glencoe in Brunswick, Georgia. He attended the U.S. Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, where he received his promised Bachelor of Naval Science degree. In 1963, he was sent to the USS Ticonderoga as a communications officer, homeported in NAS San Diego, Coronado. Promoted to commander, Doc toured in Washington, D.C. at the Defense Communications Agency and earned his master's in international affairs from George Washington University. His final duty station was as commanding officer of the Naval Communications Stations in Naples, Italy, where he was promoted to captain. Upon retirement, Doc took a job as a program manager and practiced tax accounting until 1994. In 1980, Doc and Lucky returned to Coronado to refurbish a small house they bought in 1963, spending summers in Coronado for the rest of their lives. Doc was a proud member of Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 2422 in Coronado, the American Legion Post-War 7 in Clearwater, the Association of Naval Aviation, and the Flying Midshipmen's Association. Doc always pursued a course of excellence and always looked forward to the next challenge. He is remembered as a loving husband, caring father, and the best damn man anyone could ever know. Thank you for your service. This next biography is for Rear Admiral Robert Fuller. Robert Byron Fuller enlisted in the Navy following high school in 1945 and was assigned to the USS Walter, a World War II destroyer. He later received an appointment to the United States Naval Academy, graduating in 1951. Byron met Mary Ann McGinley of Jacksonville in the 9th grade and married her in 52. After receiving his Navy Wings of Gold, he was assigned to various fighter and attack squadrons. Assigned as executive officer and then commanding officer of Attack Squadron 76 at Naval Air Station Lemoore, he deployed to Vietnam on board USS Bonhomme Richard. On his 110th combat mission, Byron was shot down, captured, and held a prisoner of war for 68 months, from July 67 to March 73. 25 of those months were spent in solitary confinement. For extraordinary heroism as a prisoner of war, he was awarded the Navy Cross, our nation's second highest honor. His other awards for valor include 2 Silver Stars, 4 Distinguished Flying Crosses, 2 Bronze Stars, 2 Purple Hearts, and the Prisoner of War Medal. Byron returned home to Jacksonville as part of Operation Homecoming and was reunited with his family in March 1973. He returned to active service, and upon selection to flag rank after a tour of the Pentagon, he commanded Carrier Battle Group 4. He retired from active duty in 1982 after 37 years of service. Upon retirement, Brian started his second career at Sun State Marine, a tugboat and shipbuilding and repair company, where he served as vice president and eventually retired as president. During this time, he served for many years on the board of directors of Wolfson's Children's Hospital, eventually serving as chairman. Byron also served as a founding board member of the Fleet Landing Retirement Community in Atlantic Beach. Byron and Mary Ann built and lived in the home he envisioned in Jacksonville Beach. He will be remembered for his love of spending time with his family and friends, sailing a sailboat, the America II, and flying his open cockpit biplanes. Every moment in life, every moment with family was cherished and treated as a gift. His family has thrived, and because of his presence, he was their shining star and role model. Thank you for your service. This next biography is for Colonel Lowell Grimo. Colonel Grimo was born and raised in Coronado with 6 siblings. His dad owned an appliance store on Orange Avenue until his untimely death left his wife, Adeline, to raise 7 children while working as a nurse at Coronado Hospital. Lowell graduated from Coronado High School in 1956 and went on to enlist in the California Army National Guard. He was also employed as an aircraft mechanic at Naval Air Station, North Island. After graduating from San Diego State University, he received his commission from Officers Training School and began his 25-year career in the Air Force. During his career, he served 2 tours in Europe and in Southeast Asia during the Vietnam War. While in Libya, Lowell helped save the stained glass window commemorating World War II pilots who had lost their lives on a B-24 aircraft, the Lady Be Good. The window now hangs in the National Museum of the Air Force in Ohio. Lowell traveled the world with his wife and 4 children and proudly hung the Coronado flag wherever he went, even in Vietnam. Lowell went on to earn 2 master's degrees and attended Squadron Officer School, Air Command and Staff College, the Industrial College of the Armed Forces. He was also an ordained deacon in the Catholic Church. After retiring from the military, Lowell went on to teach junior ROTC and worked as the purchasing manager for the City of Philadelphia. Moving back to California, he worked with the Soil and Water Conservation Society. During that time, he was active in the community, volunteering with his local VFW post, church groups, emergency response teams, and lagoon conservation projects. He also worked with other veterans to launch the first ever paddle out for the Oceanside Surf Museum, honoring the 58,220 soldiers, American soldiers, lost in Vietnam. Lowell Grimo is currently retired and lives in Carlsbad, where he remains active with his church, the Knights of Columbus, the Oceanside Surf Museum, and the local veterans community. Lowell has a servant's heart, and he continually goes out of his way to help others. He has a gift for making every event special and creating lasting memories. He is a role model to his 4 children, 11 grandchildren, and 12 great-grandchildren. Thank you for your service. Next, we have Colonel Grimaud's brother, also Colonel Grimaud, Colonel Maurice Lavelle Swede Grimaud. Colonel Maurice Swede Grimaud was born October 27, 1933 in Fargo, North Carolina. At 2 years old, his family moved to Coronado, where Swede and his 6 siblings grew up. After graduating from Coronado High School in 1953, Swede joined the Aviation Cadet Program at Harlingen Air Force Base in Texas in 1955. He commissioned with Navigator Wings and transferred to Larson Air Force Base in Moses Lake, Washington. A year later, he married his childhood sweetheart, Jackie Newton. As Master Navigator, Swede flew over 9,000 hours on 6 different aircraft, landing in 50 countries. He flew many missions to Alaska, one in which he took newsman Lowell Thomas to the North Pole to scatter the ashes of famed Arctic explorer and author Peter Freuchen. Another time, his C-124 lost 2 engines, and he was forced to emergency land in Sandpit, British Columbia. He flew over 100 North Pacific flights, one-way flights from Alaska to Japan, and then returning via Hawaii. In 1960, Swede moved to McChord Air Force Base in Tacoma and logged over 5,000 hours in the C-124. He flew the Congolese Mercy Airlift, the largest airlift since the 1948-49 Berlin airlift. He then transferred to Kinley Air Force Base in Bermuda, flying search and rescue for the Gemini space program. After Bermuda, Swede transferred back to McChord and worked toward his bachelor's degree and master's degrees at night school, while flying the line in C-141s. Service in Vietnam followed. Stationed at Phuket and Da Nang, Swede flew over 700 combat hours of recon surveillance. Once, he lost an engine in his aircraft and was forced to land at an Army fort. And that night, the Viet Cong launched a mortar attack and destroyed his plane. After Vietnam, Swede returned to Travis Air Force Base, became Director of Combat Plans and Exercises for the 22nd Air Force, and conducted the largest continental U.S. airlift exercise of 155 missions, all of them on time. Swede retired from the military in 1980 and began working for Lang Laboratories. He obtained his real estate license and appraisal license, and in 1990 moved with Jackie back to Coronado and opened Grimaud Appraisal Services. Swede officially retired again in 2008. He enjoys spending time with his 3 children, their spouses, and 4 grandchildren. Thank you for your service. The next honorary biography is for Captain Clarence Johnson. Captain Clarence R. Johnny Johnson was to Naval Aviation where John Glenn was to NASA, a trailblazer and a true American hero. He was born December 13, 1921 in Sioux Falls. While attending high school in Marshalltown, Iowa, he met the love of his life, Margaret Ann Peggy O'Brien, earned a pilot's license, and graduated with honors. He joined the Navy in 1942 and was commissioned an ensign in 1943 and assigned as a test pilot at Naval Air Station Anacostia. In December 1943, he married Peggy prior to his South Pacific deployment, flying F-6F Hellcat fighters. While assigned to the 7th Fleet, he volunteered for hazardous duty, working with Philippine resistance to reconnoiter Japanese airfields following World War II. Following World War II, he was assigned to North Island. During this time, he and Peggy purchased a home in Coronado and started a family. In 1952, Captain Johnson transferred to VF-35, a night attack training squad. Subsequently, he was assigned as commanding officer of VAN-21, attached to the Fighter Squadron 194 aboard the aircraft carrier USS Boxer. During operations in Korea in 1953, he was awarded his third Distinguished Flying Cross with Valor for heroism and extraordinary achievement. In '59, Captain Johnson assumed command of VF-53, the Puking Dogs, and deployed aboard the USS Ticonderoga. A forerunner of Top Gun, his squadron won military flying and shooting competitions with Johnson as a high scorer. With his skill and leadership recognized, he was granted an unprecedented follow-on command tour. When top brass decided to reduce aircraft armament, Johnson convinced the leadership that cannons were still very necessary, and the brass reversed their own decision. A proud naval aviator, he flew everything from biplanes to jets to bombers. He had multiple deployments and more than 2,000 carrier landings. He was selected as Navy's test pilot for McDonnell Douglas aircraft. He coordinated recovery of Apollo 12 astronauts and was instrumental in the planning of Operation Homecoming, again, the return of the POWs in 1973. He was highly decorated with 39 combat decorations, 3 Distinguished Flying Crosses with V, Legion of Merit, 26 Meritorious Service Medals, and 2 Meritorious Service Medals, and 26 Air Medals. Admired by subordinates and seniors alike, Captain Johnson's legacy spans dancing with Marilyn Monroe and dining with Prince, now King, Charles. He retired in 1974 after 32 years of service. Captain Johnson passed away peacefully on May 5th, 2009. He lived a most full and rewarding life and is survived by 6 children, 11 grandchildren, and 8 great-grandchildren. Thank you for your service.
The next biography is for Lieutenant Colonel George Lawler. Lieutenant Colonel George Patrick Lawler, United States Marine Corps retired, was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1929. He grew up in Teaneck, New Jersey, with his 3 brothers and 1 sister. George left Trinity High School in New Jersey at the end of his junior year in 1946 to enlist in the Marine Corps. As a young enlisted Marine, he was in the last group of the fabled China Marines, arriving in country in 1947. In the summer of 1952, he graduated from Seton Hall University and married Patricia Carpenter. He was commissioned as second lieutenant in the Marine Corps, where he would spend the next 25 years as an infantry officer and an ordnance officer. He enjoyed all his duty stations and served honorably with the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th Marine Regiments. One of his favorite tours of duty was the 2 years spent in London, England, where 2 of his sons were born. George was awarded 2 Purple Hearts while serving in Korea and served in the Vietnam War as well. In 1962, he graduated from Quantico's prestigious amphibious warfare school. George was stationed throughout the United States, from Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort, South Carolina, to his final duty station at Coronado's Naval Amphibious Base. George and his wife Patricia had 11 children, 7 girls and 4 boys. 6 of his children, Maureen, Mary Margaret, Sean, Jamie, Kelly, and Molly, graduated from Coronado High School. After retiring from the Marine Corps in 1977, he went back to school at National University and earned a master's degree in economics. He was then employed as a key leader by the American Association of People with Disabilities. He fully retired in 1988. George was an avid reader and was involved in the Catholic Church at every duty station. NAS North Island Chapel was his home parish here in Coronado. He was also a catechism teacher for high school students. He and his wife Patricia enjoyed large family gatherings, grandchildren, traveling, and playing golf. Lieutenant Colonel Lawler passed away in December of 1998 and is buried at Fort Rosecrans National Cemetery on Fort Point Loma. Thank you for your service. The next biography is for Captain John Jack McCormick. Captain John Jack Webster McCormick was born in Laurel, Mississippi in 1913. He was one of 10 children, 3 of which went on to serve in the military. He attended the United States Naval Academy, graduating in 1935. His first duty was as an assistant navigator on the cruiser USS Minneapolis. He then served on the destroyer USS Waysmith and the USS Capella. He served as the engineering officer during the fitting out of the new destroyer USS Bancroft and served aboard her during the ship's first 6 months at sea. He did the same with the USS Maddox. He also saw destroyer service on the USS Barry and the USS Cole before being sent to the Naval Postgraduate School to study marine design engineering. In December 1941, he married Marjorie Jerry Mattaconi of Newport, Rhode Island. The war interrupted his studies and sent him to duty as assistant engineering officer aboard the battleship New Jersey. In 1944, he was promoted to commander and engineering officer during a shakedown cruise in the Western Atlantic and Caribbean during World War II. Jack earned 9 battle stars and a commendation ribbon with a Combat V. After the war, his family grew by 2 sons and 2 daughters. In 1946, Captain McCormick began a long series of advancements as a ship designer and builder at the Philadelphia shipyard, and later in Washington, D.C. and Norfolk, Virginia. Production officer at Pearl Harbor Naval Shipyard and commanding officer of the ship repair facility in Yokosuka, Japan. His last active duty was as Navy shipbuilding liaison officer in Europe, based in the Netherlands, and overseeing facilities in Madrid and Lisbon. After the Navy, Captain McCormick held executive engineering posts with General Dynamics and Harco Engineering. Captain McCormick was a Eucharistic minister at Sacred Heart Church and a member of the Holy Name Society. He was a volunteer in the Coronado Hospital Auxiliary for many years, a member of the Coronado Tennis Association and the Hotel Del Beach and Tennis Club. He is interred at Fort Rosecrans National Cemetery along with his wife and son, Ensign John Webster McCormick Jr., who died in the Vietnam conflict. Thank you for your service. The next biography is for Captain John Jack McCormick's son, Ensign John McCormick Jr. John Webster McCormick Jr. was born into a Navy family on the 9th of January, 1944. In Newport, Rhode Island, he was the first child of John Jack Sr., U.S. Naval Academy class of 1935, and Marjorie Jerry McCormick. John was a 1957 graduate of Sacred Heart School here in Coronado and attended Coronado High for his freshman year. He graduated from Yokohama High School in Japan and from Villanova University in Pennsylvania, where he completed Naval ROTC. In September 1965, he was sworn into the Navy by his uncle, Rear Admiral James McCormick. He left for Vietnam on October 1st, 1966, and volunteered to serve with the 3rd Marine Division, Headquarters Battery, 1st Battalion, 12th Marines, as a Naval Gunfire Liaison Officer in connection with operations against insurgent communist forces in the Republic of Vietnam. On May 18, 1967, during Operation Bow Charger, John was killed during a heavy enemy mortar attack. He was 23 years old and had participated in 12 prior operations. John was posthumously awarded the Silver Star, the 3rd highest military award for acts of gallantry in combat against an enemy of the United States. His citation reads in part, Ensign McCormick fearlessly exposed himself to intense fire to direct and adjust supporting fires against enemy entrenchments, maneuvering his gunfire spying team into more advantageous positions from which to observe friendly fires. He courageously disregarded his own safety while he moved from one position to another, encouraging his men and adjusting supporting artillery fire with exceptional accuracy. As enemy fire intensified, Ensign McCormick directed his men to covered positions while he continued to expose himself to the hostile fire to adjust friendly artillery missions. Although he sustained severe fragmentation wounds, he refused assistance and, urging his men to remain in their relatively secure positions, maintained radio contact with friendly artillery units, directing their fires until he was no longer able to move. His indomitable fighting spirit and steadfast determination were an inspiration to all with whom he served and contributed significantly to the accomplishment of his unit's mission. By his extraordinary courage, bold initiative, and selfless devotion to duty, Ensign McCormick upheld the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. He is buried at Fort Rosecrans next to his parents. Thank you for your service. This next biography is for Captain George Morgan. Captain George Morgan, Jr. was born in New York City. His parents, George and Ethel Morgan, raised him in Brooklyn, New York, and Cresskill, New Jersey. Following high school, George attended Davis and Elkins College in West Virginia, where he earned a Bachelor's of Science degree in mathematics. After graduation, George entered Naval Officer Candidate School and was commissioned an ensign in the Supply Corps on November 17, 1961. George's first assignment was to the Supply Corps School in Athens, Georgia. Following graduation, he was assigned to the USS Neosho, a fleet oiler, as assistant supply officer. He then served tours at the Naval Station in Washington, D.C., and in the Republic of Vietnam with the Naval Advisory Group and the Naval Support Activity. In 1973, George went back to school and received his master's degree in computer systems management from the Naval Postgraduate School. His degree was immediately put to work as he served as the Director of Data Processing at Navy Resale and Services Support Office in Brooklyn. Captain Morgan's long and distinguished career included assignments as the supply officer aboard the cruiser USS Daniels, supply officer at the National Naval Medical Center in Bethesda, supply officer at the Naval Ships Engineering Center in Maryland, and the Naval Station in Charleston. The officer in charge of Navy Resale and Service Support Office in Rhode Island. Captain Morgan's final assignments included commanding officer of the Naval Regional Data Automation Center in New Orleans, and then Force Information Systems Officer of Commander Naval Air Forces Pacific, right here in Coronado. Captain Morgan's career and accomplishments came with great support from his first wife, Christine Thompson, and his two children, Michael and Maria. During his career, Captain Morgan was awarded 2 Navy Commendation Medals, the Navy Achievement Medal, and 2 Navy Unit Commendations, the National Defense Services Medal, and the Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal, the Vietnam Service Medal with 3 Bronze Stars, the Republic of Vietnam Meritorious Unit Citation, and the Vietnam Campaign Medal. Captain Morgan is joined here by many of his loving family, including his 2 children and 2 stepchildren, Michael and Rebecca, 4 great-grandchildren, Harry, Ayla, Ellis, and Evie, and 1 more grandchild on the way, and of course his wife, Sherry Morgan. Thank you for your service. The next biography is for Commander Robert A.H. Muirline. Commander Robert Allison Hines Muirline, U.S. Navy retired, a 3-war veteran, was born July 26, 1921 in Abingdon, Virginia. He graduated from Plainfield High School in Marymount, Ohio in 1941. Following high school, he briefly attended Ohio Mechanical Institute and the University of Cincinnati. In 1941, he applied for and received an appointment to the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy at Kings Point, New York. Graduated in 1944. Called to the Naval Service, he served as an engineering officer on the USS George Eliot. After the war, he returned to Cincinnati as the recruiting officer for Organized Reserve Unit. He was called back into the military during the Korean War and served aboard the USS Titanic. Following the Korean War, Commander Muirline began ascending the ranks, serving aboard a variety of ships and excelling as a marine engineer. In 1961, he assumed command of the minesweeper MSO 427 USS Constant and led a goodwill tour to the Philippines and other Asian countries. This was followed by a tour as Sub-Chief U.S. Naval Mission Bogota, Colombia. During the Vietnam War, he served as commanding officer of a group of minesweepers that figured predominantly in Operation Market Time, a joint Navy Coast Guard operation designed to prevent North Vietnamese ships from supplying enemy forces in South Vietnam by sea. This historic operation stopped virtually all seaborne infiltration from North Vietnam into South Vietnam. Commander Muirline then served as the Chief of Staff of Naval Beach Group 1 in Coronado before reporting to his final duty station, the 15th Naval District in Canal Zone, Balboa, Panama. Retiring from the military service, Robert continued working for the Navy, riding ships back from Hawaii and documenting needed repairs. He enjoyed a unique brush with history, having spent time aboard the USS Hughes Glomar Explorer, the focal point of the secret 1974 CIA effort to recover a sunken Soviet submarine. Upon full retirement, Robert enjoyed traveling, managing his Coronado rental properties, and participating in the Kings Point Alumni Association. Passing away in 1992, his ashes were scattered at sea off San Diego. His wife of 44 years, Jean Berry, passed away in 1997. They are survived by their 3 children, Robert Jr., Allison, and David. Thank you for your service. Next honoree biography is for Commander Arthur D. Ronimus Jr. Arthur Dyer Ronimus Jr. was born August 22, 1922 in Boston, Massachusetts, to Arthur and Julia Ronimus, and to an older sister, Eleanor. Commander A.D. wanted to be a pilot early on in life and enjoyed learning, which later led to lifelong pursuit at multiple universities and to several degrees. However, flying was his true passion. At 19 years old, he enlisted in the Navy as an aviation cadet and was commissioned in 1944. From several West Coast naval air stations, his flight operations in 1944 through 1946 took place in the Pacific Theater, from San Diego, San Francisco, Hawaii, New Guinea, Australia, and the Philippines Islands, Japan, and Australia, the Solomon Islands, and China, to Vietnam. He received 2 air medals for bravery and outstanding contributions to the war effort in the Pacific. From 1946 to 1952, Arthur was stationed on the East Coast, flying in Naval Air Transport Service squadrons, flying to Cuba, the Azores, Europe, Greenland, and to Canada. He served as the Ops Duty Officer in Anacostia and then was stationed at Westover NAS from 1952 to 1954. Then he was stationed at Monterey Naval Postgraduate School in 1954, earned a master's degree. Duty station at NAS North Island followed, and Ronimus served as patrol bomber pilot assigned to VP 48. In 1957, he was stationed at NAS Floyd Bennett Field in New York, and then assigned to the Armed Forces Staff College in Norfolk, Virginia. He returned to NAS North Island in 1960 as VP 48's commanding officer, followed by serving as the first naval aviator to report to the Undersea Warfare Council for Research and Development at the Naval Ordnance Laboratory in White Oak, Maryland, where Commander A.D. was instrumental in the study of anti-submarine warfare. His last assignment was in 1968 at NAS Lemoore as the base administrative officer. Arthur retired in 1969 as a commander after 27 years of honorable service. He was a pilot rated in nearly 30 types of aircraft and flew over 15,000 flight hours in his years of service. After retirement, he volunteered at the Coronado Library, the Navy Relief Child Care, and NAS North Island with the support of his wife, Doris. Before Commander A.D.'s passing in 2005, he and Doris traveled the world and were Hotel Del Beach and tennis members for many years, playing tennis and enjoying the pool. Thank you for your service. Today's last, but certainly not least, biography is for Lieutenant Commander John Schaefer Jr. Lieutenant Commander John Edward Schaefer Jr. was born in Orlando, Oklahoma on December 13, 1924. He received his commission after graduating from Columbia University in 1945. As a surface warfare officer, he served on 4 destroyers, the USS Venian, USS Rooks, USS McCord, and USS Lynn. John was then selected for flight training and was designated a naval aviator in 1949. His first flying assignments were with the VF-54 Copperheads and then with the VF-74 Bedevilers. During the Korean conflict, John flew combat missions with the Red Tails of Air Anti-Submarine Squadron 21. Shortly thereafter, he attended the General Line School in Monterey. His vast flying experience landed him assignments in both the Advanced Training Command and later as senior instructor at the All-Weather Flight Training Unit in Key West, Florida. There, he instructed other pilots in the F-3D-2 Skyknight, the first operational jet-powered carrier-based night fighter in the world. John was then selected for and graduated from test pilot school. From 1957 to 1959, he tested catapult launch and landing arresting systems at Lakehurst Naval Air Station. Back on a carrier, the USS Ticonderoga, he served on the staff of Commander Cruiser Destroyer Flotilla from 1959 to 1961, as they conducted training operations with the 7th Fleet throughout the Far East. In 1961, John moved his family to Coronado, where he served as the officer in charge of the San Clemente Range. His final assignment was as the officer in charge of NAS North Island Control Tower. John retired on June 30th, 1966. Over the course of his naval aviation career, he amassed over 4,000 flight hours across 11 different planes, 184 carrier landings, and while a test pilot at NAS Lakehurst, he accumulated 382 catapult launches and 1,295 arrested landings. He was awarded the United Nations Occupation Ribbon, Asiatic Pacific Korean Service, World War II Victory, and 2 National Defense Service Medals. His grandson, John Edward Schaefer IV, is carrying on his legacy of service. John IV received his commission as an ensign in the U.S. Navy in 2019 and earned his Naval Aviator Wings of Gold on June 24th, 2022. He currently flies F-18 Super Hornets based in Naval Air Station, Lemoore, California. Thank you for your service. We would now like to recognize those current and former banner recipients who are here today. If you would, please stand to let us know where you are. Those are current and former banner recipients. Thank you to all our honorees, their family and friends, the City of Coronado for its sponsorship of this program, and all those who have helped put the event together. As we approach Memorial Day, we are honored to tell the stories of these local heroes and to demonstrate our appreciation for all they do or have done for our country. Now, I'll ask our wonderful Coronado City Manager, Tina Friend, back to the stage for her closing remarks.
Remarkable. Yes, I always am so moved when I come to this ceremony. I'm on the verge of tears for an hour and a half. The bravery, the valor, the service over self we mentioned earlier, just incredible. Also, I'm struck by career after career after career. These heroes are not stopping. They continue in their service, throughout a second career, in and out of uniform, and on all kinds of boards and participation. So it is such an honor. I also have to really recognize Lieutenant Colonel Lawler's family. I think you take the attendance prize. So one thing, I want to mention a few things. So is Cole Bennett here today with us? Young man Cole Bennett? He's not here today. So last year, local Coronado Life Scout Cole Bennett of Troop 801 created a program for his Eagle Scout project. His goal was to tie in those who are visually impaired with the Avenue of Heroes program. So the project continues today. Cole and his fellow scouts read and record each of the honorees' biographies. So these stories will play on and be available for generations. You don't just have to be here today to hear this. The Coronado Historical Association, who sponsors the project, then hosts the recordings on their website. So you can find this freely. So thank you to Cole and Troop 801 and the Coronado Historical Association. And we're going to put a link in your program to those recordings. And I also want to recognize the Coronado Historical Association because they provide all the honorees a one-year membership to the association so we can deepen and enrich. So thank you very much. Okay. Nearly over, but it shouldn't stop. So, every year, many of our honorees have really illustrious awards and recognitions, but there are so many heroes in our community. You don't need to have a Bronze Star or other, distinguished honor. We have everyday heroes here. So this program continues, so we're always looking for nominations for the next class. So please look at that. I think there's a link in the program as well, or a reference in the program. And so really to wrap this up, I finally want to thank our city staff. We have a team that works all year round along with the Hometown Banner Committee to put this together. So if they're here and around, I'd like to thank Kelly Maples. I'd like to thank Kelly Purvis, Andrew McCullough, and Michelle Miller. They're away from the lobby. They work hard to bring us here. Thank you so much. And so finally, just a final thanks for honoring us with your presence today. Thank you for the families who traveled. We saw a lot of reunions. Please enjoy the refreshments in the lobby afterwards. Enjoy your wonderful day in Coronado. And please, a final round of applause for our honorees.